Today, the Supreme Court told the President of the United States that he doesn't get to decide who is an American citizen. Not by executive order, not with the stroke of a pen. If you are born on American soil, you are a citizen, whether your parents are here legally, illegally, or just passing through. And the part that's going to get lost in the noise when it comes to this case is this. This wasn't liberals beating conservatives. This was conservative jurists arguing with each other about what it means to be a conservative when it comes to interpreting the U.S. Constitution. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. I'm Israel Balderas. I teach constitutional law at Elon University, and as a former journalist who covered Washington, D.C., that also included covering the U.S. Supreme Court. The case is Trump versus Barbara. On day one of his second term, President Donald Trump signed an executive order saying children born here to undocumented or temporary parents are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and therefore not citizens. Today, the court said no, 6-3. Now hold on to that number because I'm going to come back and complicate it just a bit. So, what does this ruling mean for you today? If you're living in this country and you have a child born here, that child is an American citizen, period. End of discussion. What the court protected today is the child, not the parents. The mother who's undocumented is still undocumented today, but her baby born on this soil is a citizen and nobody can take away that. Now, had it gone the other way, you'd have created a permanent underclass, kids born here, raised here, who know no other country, citizens of nowhere. And the court refused to build that. And I'll be honest with you, this one's personal for me. My grandmother came to this country to give birth to my mother. So the question the court answered today is, in a very real sense, the question of whether my own family belongs in the United States. Now, let me put on the law professor hat for just a minute, because this is where it gets interesting. You've heard the word originalism. It just means the Constitution means what it meant when it was written, and that includes the 14th Amendment. The conservative justices all swear by originalism, so you'd think they'd agree on the interpretation of subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Guess what? They didn't, because they can't agree on what the 14th Amendment meant back in 1868. The majority, led by Chief Justice John Roberts, joined by Trump appointee Amy Coney Barrett, says the original meaning is simple. If you're born here, that means you're a citizen. The whole point of that amendment was to bury Dred Scott. That's the 1857 decision that made your bloodline, your ancestry, the test for citizenship. Soil, not blood. The dissenters, Justice Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch, wanted to tie citizenship to the parents instead. And here's the irony that I can't get past. Thomas and Alito have built their careers telling us just follow the text, just the words on the page. But look at the words on the page. The Constitution says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. It does not say domicile. It does not say allegiance. It does not say lawful or mother or father. And Roberts makes this exact point. Every one of those words is in the president's executive order, and not one of them is in the Constitution. So, where did the dissenters get them? Chief Justice Roberts catches them on that. They lean on sources from the 1880s, decades after the amendment was ratified. He calls the theory dramatically revisionist. When the Chief Justice tells another conservative he's got the history wrong on the conservative movement's home turf, that's a big deal. Now, I'm not going to tell you what's in another man's heart, but you're allowed to ask this question. Is this textualism, or is it textualism when it happens to get you where you already wanted to go? And there's something else in Roberts' opinion that I think is the most important part, and nobody's talking about it. He takes you through the history, and what you realize is that the immigration argument in this country has never changed. In the 1880s, the fear was the Chinese. Senators stood on the floor and warned they'd overrun California, that they were too foreign, too different, that they could never really become American citizens. Different decade, different group, same script. Too different to join us. And that argument has lost every single time, culturally, socially, economically, and let's be honest, morally. The people we were once told could never belong became woven into the country so completely that the warning sounds absurd in hindsight. And Chief Justice Roberts doesn't have to say it out loud. He just lays the history side by side, and you see it. We have run this experiment before, and the restrictionists have always been wrong about who gets to be one of us. Now, let's talk about that Supreme Court number. Everyone's calling this decision 6-3, and technically, sure. But look closer, because on the question that affects the most families, it's not 6-3. The question for most people isn't birth tourism. It's the kids of undocumented parents who've lived here for years, built a life here, put down roots. And on that question, watch Justice Neil Gorsuch. Yes, he dissented from the majority opinion, but he also breaks from Thomas and Alito. He denies citizenship to children of temporary visitors. But for the children of immigrants who've made this their permanent home, he stops and he asks the following question. If those parents aren't domiciled here, then where are they domiciled? Nowhere? And you know what? He can't accept that answer. So add it up. 5 justices say those kids are citizens. Gorsuch won't slam the door on that. And Kavanaugh, he only objected on the technicality about which law applies, the 14th Amendment or statutory law. So on the question that matters to most families in America today, it's not 6-3. Realistically, it's more like 7 justices who won't take citizenship from those children and 2 who will. And that's the story under the headline. So how has President Trump responded to today's ruling? Well, on Truth Social, he posted the following. Too bad for our country, but we can easily make it up in Congress through legislation. No long and unwieldy constitutional amendment is necessary. End quote. Now, he is leaning on Justice Kavanaugh there, who suggested Congress might be able to create exceptions someday. In other words, change the statute. Well, that part's not invented. But here's what the tweet skips. The majority held the Constitution itself guarantees birthright citizenship. And if that's true, Congress can't fix it with an ordinary law. You'd need a constitutional amendment, 2/3 of both houses. Easily? Well, that's the single hardest thing to do in American government today. So, underneath all the legal vocabulary, this was a fight about one question. Is America a place you belong to because of an idea or because of your bloodline? Today, the Supreme Court, that included 2 of this president's own appointees, said the idea wins. Same as it did with the Chinese back in 1898. Same as it always has. And that's the story behind the talking points. I'm Israel Balderas. Have a great week.